What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Victory Monday night. And that, of course, can only mean one thing. It is the smoke break. So good to have you in. Fresh off the Buffalo Bills' 9th victory of the 2025 season, and it was one of the better victories in some time. An insane game against an AFC North opponent, and the Buffalo Bills were on the winning end of things. Stop me if you've heard me say that this season. The Bills now 3-0 against the AFC North. Their first victory coming in Week 1 in the game of the year against the Baltimore Ravens, where they make that unbelievable comeback, win 41-40. Just a week ago, the Bills dominate the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half. This past Sunday, the Bills, who looked like they were down and out, down by 10 at half, fumble from James Cook into the end zone, down by 10 with 8 to go in the fourth quarter, looking like this might be a catastrophic loss at home, wound up turning into a prolific victory. Bills 39, Bengals 34. What a show we were treated to in Orchard Park in Week 14 as the Bills skyrocket their playoff chances to 95%. With a loss, they would have fell to sub 80. It was a massive victory for the Buffalo Bills. It was a massive loss for the Cincinnati Bengals. That loss moves them to 4-9 and effectively ends their 2025 campaign. It's amazing they were even still alive, being that they were going into that game with just 4 victories. Joe Burrow misses the majority of the season. He comes back for the Thanksgiving game against the Baltimore Ravens. Looks pretty good. The offense looks pretty good. Ravens turn the ball over 5 times. They dominate Baltimore. They win that game 32-14. And it just felt like that game instilled a lot of confidence into Cincinnati Bengals fans, right? They saw an opportunity. The AFC North is down. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not been playing well. The Baltimore Ravens have not been playing well. We're only 2 games behind. We looked pretty good against Baltimore. One of those 2 teams has to lose in Week 14 because they play each other, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. If we can just beat Buffalo, who knows? Anything's possible. And they almost had the Bills. They almost had them up by 10 in the fourth, and everything changed off the hands of Christian Benford, taking it to the house for the second time in back-to-back weeks. What an unbelievable game. Can't wait to dive into it. We'll also dive into the playoff picture, because the AFC playoff picture, it's insane right now. It's been insane all year. The insanity continues, and we'll focus in on that this evening because it's becoming a bit more clear, of course, each and every week. I mean, we only have 4 weeks remaining of this season. You're going to blink before you know it. New Year's is going to be here, and postseason football will be on your television. What's that going to look like? And is this potentially the best path the Bills have ever had to a Super Bowl? We'll talk about that. So good to have you all in here on a Monday night on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. I hope that your heart rate is back to normal. Mine finally is. I can't lie to you. That game ruined me yesterday. It's amazing how we are sort of addicted to that feeling. And only a diehard sports fan can understand the feeling that I'm talking about. And I'm sure so many of you understand what I'm referring to. It's a sickening feeling where you just don't know how the game's going to go. There's a large part of you that thinks you're going to win the football, or you're going to lose the football game. Large part of you that thinks you're not going to come out of this one victorious, but you still have that slight hope that things are going to go your way. And you're on the edge of your seat. I mean, in this one, I was pacing, I was fidgeting, I was moving all over the place. Heart rate was double what it should be at a resting rate. I mean, it's amazing that I wasn't hospitalized. And then, of course, the turn of emotions. We talked about this on the post-game show. Rico mentioned it. The emotions as a sports fan are second to none. And this game was a perfect template in regard to what those emotions can be on any given drive, any given play. This, in a nutshell, took you through the entire gamut, the entire roller coaster, where You're at halftime, down by 10. Really no signs of being able to stop this Cincinnati offense. The Bills had made mistakes up until that point. Ty Johnson slips up on a sure touchdown. They don't end up getting into the end zone on that drive. They got to settle for a field goal. Before the end of the half, the Bills go for it on fourth down. They do not get it. They set Cincinnati up for what felt like guaranteed points. Bills defense made a very underrated play on that drive. Christian Benford, one of two insanely massive plays for the Bills defense in this game. He sacks Joe Burrow on that drive before half. I think that was an underrated element of this football game. The Bills go for it on fourth down in this game 4 times. They cash in on 3. And if they don't cash in on 2 of those 3 that they wound up cashing in on, I don't think they win the football game. The one that they wound up not getting, it was right before half. They go for it, 4th and 3, don't get it. Cincinnati set up perfectly. And the way they were moving the football, how could you think they weren't going to get points? Large part of me thought they were going to go down the field and get in the end zone. I thought a guaranteed field goal at the minimum. Christian Benford, a sack, puts Cincinnati at 3rd and very long. They have to punt. It was the only time Cincinnati punted in the football game. In fact, there were only 2 total punts in this game combined between the Bills and the Bengals. That's tied for the fewest most this entire season. That just goes to show you the type of game that this was. It was 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 offenses on any given week that can be the best in the league. That's what you saw in this game. You know, that also combines with the fact that you had 2 defenses that are susceptible to allowing points in bunches. No more than the Cincinnati Bengals, though. I mean, you understand the Bills' defense has their struggles. They certainly do. The defense that the Cincinnati Bengals put out on display against the Buffalo Bills, that is about as bad as it gets in football. And the Bills exploited that in a multitude of different ways. Josh Allen had one of the best games of the season so far, not only through the air, but on the ground. In terms of the ground game itself, nearly 200 yards on the ground. Yet again, the Bills have been making statements each and every week as to why they are the best running offense in the sport. It's crazy. You know, that game didn't even feel like they had that type of yardage on the ground. But when you look back, yeah, when Josh Allen rallies off a 40-yard touchdown run, a 20-yard rush on a scramble to end the game, 18 carries for James Cook, should have gotten into the end zone, fumbled it into the end zone. That's where I really thought the nail was going to be put into the coffin of the Buffalo Bills. I'm still amazed at their ability to overcome that. This game, in every way, was a roller coaster that you thought you were going to get off of and vomit. I mean, really, you thought that you were going to get off just sick to your stomach. You got off of it and you said, man, that was a hell of a ride. That was a hell of a ride. Not sure I want to go back on it. But, man, I had a ball. And I had a ball watching that football game. You guys let me know if you did, too. I certainly did. That was one of my favorite games of the year, not just from the Buffalo perspective, but from a football fan perspective. I thought that was one of the best games of the season. And it wasn't just because of what we saw on the field. I mean, it was an incredible game that came down to the wire, amazing plays left and right. Aesthetically, though, go look at some of the images taken by the incredible photographers that do an unbelievable job in the NFL. The Bills have some amazing staff photographers. Go look at some of the visuals from that game. It just doesn't get better. And I know part of me wanted a dome. I'm sure part of you maybe wanted a dome with the Bills, of course, having the new stadium opening up next season. That was a big debate, still kind of is a debate. You look at those visuals, and that's where you're like, yeah, I'm happy that the Bills are keeping this thing open. It just doesn't get better. I've been to so many snow games in my life, and of all the Bills games that I've been to, the most memorable are the ones in the snow featuring games like that. Visually, it doesn't get better. That is what football is all about. And I was just kind of filing through the images. There's some amazing ones from this game. And with the snow encapsulating it all, it just doesn't get better. And watching that on television, the snow falling the entire game, it's on the field. And you would think that that would be a hindrance to the offensive performance, and it couldn't have been the opposite. I think the over-under in this game was 53.5. This game wound up finishing with 73 total points. The snow only got in the way of one player the entire game, it felt like, and that was Ty Johnson on a would-be touchdown. Other than that, the only thing the snow did in this game was elevate how awesome of a football game it was. If that exact football game played out without the snow, it still would have been great. But to me, the thing that took that over the top was the visual of the whole thing. It was just so awesome. And that's what makes Buffalo football so great. It's those moments to me where I'm like, yeah, you could have had a Taylor Swift concert in December if you made the new Highmark Stadium a dome. But I'll trade out the Taylor Swift concert in December for games like that because I just don't think it gets a whole lot better. What doesn't get a lot better is what we saw yesterday. I mean, the Buffalo Bills pull off a victory they really grasped that victory from the jaws of death. I want to bring up that next-gen statistic we discussed on the post-game show because to me, this is just the most insane thing. In fact, you look at the graph and it's almost like it's trending up as if you have your money in one of those high-yield savings accounts. It just keeps trickling up towards Baltimore. And then, boom, you're looking at the dot-com bubble. You're looking at the housing crash of 2008 when Christian Benford gets his paws on the throw of Joe Burrow. The game completely altered. And at that point, with 5.5 minutes left, down by 3, there was no way that the Bills were winning that football game, in my opinion, if they don't make a play like that. It really felt as though the only way the Buffalo Bills were going to find a way to get out of this alive is if they made a game-altering play or two on defense. They needed it, and they did it. And that, to me, was what was so unbelievable about it. The ability to do it when it mattered most. They hadn't shown, outside of stopping Cincinnati before the half, they really hadn't shown much of an ability to stop that offense. And when you're down by 3 with 5 minutes left, I'd have to imagine that throw was on first down. If that ball isn't intercepted, you got to think, at least minimum 2 more minutes are ran off the clock. And if Cincinnati gets in the end zone on that drive, it's essentially over. Going to have about 3 minutes left. The Bills down 10. They'd have to go the distance of the field themselves just to make it a one-score game. If they were to even do that, best case scenario, the Bills kick the ball back off to Cincinnati, sub 2 minutes? It's just not happening. Maybe they hold them to a field goal on that drive, but I don't want to leave it to chance. You got to make a play. And Christian Benford made a play. And the last 2 weeks, for as much fault as this defense is given, the last 2 weeks, the game was dictated by 2 unbelievable plays by this defense to really propel the Buffalo Bills to victory. The Bills are losing at half to the Pittsburgh Steelers 7-3 with really no signs of life. And right out of the chutes to start the half, Joey Bosa nails Aaron Rodgers. Ball on the ground. Christian Benford picks it up. Touchdown. They pick off Mason Rudolph the next drive. In a game that felt like, this is disgusting, the Bills are going to lose to this team, I can't believe it, how bad are they playing? In a game that felt like that for 30 minutes, the next 30 minutes had you leaving that game saying, wow, the Bills just absolutely bullied that team on the road in their building, put up more yards than any team ever has in that facility. That's what you walked away thinking. You forgot about the previous 30 minutes where the Bills did not look very good. And all of that had to do with the spark that the Buffalo Bills defense delivered for that team. And the following week, against an AFC North opponent yet again, the Bills just don't look like they're going to win this football game based on what you've seen up until this point. Game-altering defensive play. And if they don't make that play, if Christian Benford doesn't make that play, I have a really tough time thinking the Bills get out of this one victorious. In my opinion, I think that was the play of the year for the Buffalo Bills. If you look at the 2025 season for the Bills, I think the one play of the year that I would elect to be held above all would be the Christian Benford pick against the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't get it twisted. That game, that win is bigger than being advertised. If they lose that football game, they sit at 8-5, and they are now below an 80% chance to make the playoffs. You're looking at this playoff picture right now. It's insanity, and we'll take a look at it in a minute here. It's absolutely nuts. I mean, you're talking about all-time, all-world quarterbacks that are going to be on the outside looking in. Joe Burrow, season ends at the hand of the Buffalo Bills, at the hands of Christian Benford, really. Lamar Jackson, he ain't going to be there. We'll talk about this in a little bit here. Patrick Mahomes, he ain't going to be there. Win the football game. And they had to make a play like that to win the football game. Christian Benford, who was getting dogged on the first couple of months of the season, wasn't living up to that contract, wasn't playing his best. Where would the Buffalo Bills be the last couple of weeks without him? And that was the play of the season to me. For so many ways, in so many ways, really. Not only do you pick off Joe Burrow, who is not known for throwing picks, hadn't thrown a pick in some time. He'd been cooking the Bills defense all day. What gave you any reason to think he was going to throw a pick there, much less back-to-back picks? I cannot believe that was the sequence that went down. But to do that while they're driving with a lead, likely to score points, likely to run the clock down to a point in which even if the Bills get the ball back, they're screwed. It's not just the play that was made. It was when the play was made. It had to happen. It was do or die. That play had to be made pretty much right there and then. And it was. This Bills defense collectively in that football game did not play well. You allowed 34 points. Joe Burrow had 4 touchdowns. It wasn't great. T. Higgins did whatever he wanted. The Gesicki was able to do whatever he wanted. It wasn't great. They did take away the run, but let's be honest, the Cincinnati Bengals didn't value the run game much in that football game. They went into that one looking to throw. That's exactly what they did. But the difference a play can make. I mean, that's football for you. It's a game of inches, and it's a play-to-play type game. For as bad as that defense played throughout the duration, the Bills don't win the football game if they don't make 2 massive plays, that one being the biggest of all. And you could argue, well, yeah, they wouldn't have been in position if it wasn't for that defense allowing them to be in that position. True, but the Bills' defense is what it is at this point. I think we can all agree. The pass rush has been non-existent over the last several weeks. It just hasn't been. The injuries on this defense, I mean, I could fill up an entire index book. And I could fill up an entire journal of the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not trying to excuse what they are currently. They just are what they are right now. And I'm going into games against elite offenses with the anticipation that they are going to score points on this Bills defense. They're going to move the ball. They're going to score points. What I need is for them to make a couple of massive plays to allow the Buffalo Bills offense led by the MVP to get the job done. And that's what they did a season ago. And really, if we're looking at this season, ever since Sean McDermott has allegedly taken over the play calling, this defense in the second half has been not just good, they've been borderline great. You know, you go back to that Atlanta football game. They're getting destroyed. Bijan Robinson's killing them. Drake London's killing them. They're getting massacred at half. Something dramatically switched. A flip of a switch at that half, and they've been a completely different defense in the second half, almost each and every week. Atlanta couldn't do anything in that second half. You go into the second half against Houston, they couldn't do anything in that second half. They had 21 points at half. I understand Davis Mills was playing quarterback. They still had 21 at half. Didn't allow them to do anything in the second half. They need to put together a full game. That's for sure. The biggest problem, I think, right now with the Buffalo Bills is that they have very few complete games on their resume in 2025. But if that defense can find a way to show you shades of the second half throughout the duration of the football game, and if that Bills offense can show up like it did in that game, the Tampa game, the Kansas City Chiefs game, the Carolina Panthers game, if we can get that, this is a team that can go on a run. This is a team that can win it all. But on that, you know, there's 2 sides to the coin here. You know, if they're going to continue to not show up in the first half and the Bills offense is going to continue to have games where they don't show up at all, and we've seen that several times this year, well, then you're going to have an early exit. I mean, there really is 2 sides to this coin, and this is why I think that this season could go either way. It really could. The way the Bills have played in 2025, it's a very odd dichotomy here where you could look at it and say you wouldn't be shocked if they lost in the wild card. You wouldn't be shocked if they ran the table and went to the Super Bowl. And that has to do with 2 things. The way that they've looked all year, I mean, it is, if we're looking at a pie or a bar graph here, it's been up, it's been down, it's been up, it's been down. What version are you going to get each and every week? Then you also look at the outside picture. You look at the teams that are going into this playoffs with them. It's been the same exact thing. So you combine those 2 things, and this is why I think it could really go either way. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we dive into the playoff picture. But the Bills have showed you time and time again this year that they can look really gross and they can look really good. I do know one thing, and that is when the Bills do get into the playoffs, we almost always get the best version of Josh Allen in this offense. And if we can get that, and if we can get the defense to make some big game-altering plays like they have the last couple of weeks, if we can get them to step up in the capacity in which they have in the second half in the majority of these football games, this is a dangerous team in the postseason. But for as bad as this defense was in this game, you cannot overlook how impactful they were when it mattered most. They could have been bad the whole football game. I mean, there was really no reason for you to believe that they weren't going to be. They did whatever they wanted. Cincinnati was able to do whatever they wanted. And I don't want to, they did win the football game, and I'm elated about this win. This is one of my favorite wins in some time. I can't overlook, though, what they did on that first drive against the Bengals here. I don't know what that was, and I don't want to see it again. We've seen it far too much from the Sean McDermott defense. Why are you playing prevent when it doesn't call for it? I never understood this. They're playing 10 yards off the ball. That drive incorporated a dinking and dunking from Joe Burrow to the point where they ran 8 minutes off the clock and got into the end zone. The amount of third and longs allowed to be converted in this game was sickening. Those things have got to be cleaned up. Because here's the reality. If the Bills play like they did in that game 100 times, they might lose 95 of them. The Bills' defensive effort in that football game is shown over 100-game sample size. I think you could argue that they lose probably 95 of them. The reason they won this one is because they made the one or two plays. They have to do it. It's a scary world you're living in when you have to rely on the Bills to make massive game-altering defensive plays. Luckily, they've done it the last couple of weeks. But to me, there's an easy fix. In terms of at least what I saw in the Cincinnati game, you were never going to hold them off the scoreboard. They were going to score their points. This offense is phenomenal. But that opening drive, I didn't understand the approach. They were playing way off the ball. Everything Joe Burrow was doing was underneath because why wouldn't you? You could pick them apart. Everybody was standing wide open. Next thing you knew, they were in enemy territory. Next thing you knew, they were in the red zone. Next thing you knew, they were in the end zone. And 8 minutes were off the clock. It got progressively better throughout the game, but the third down woes never really dissipated. That was prevalent throughout. I think some of it has to do with how good their receiving core is. Some of it has to do with how good Joe Burrow is. Some of it has to do with the fact that the Bills could not get after Joe Burrow to save their life. The pass rush was non-existent yet again. But if the pass rush isn't going to get home, you got to rely on your back end. And if you're just going to allow these guys to dink and dunk down the field and you're going to play 10 yards off the ball, well, you're going to be in some trouble. I didn't love that. It was awfully frustrating. I mean, I'm no Albert Einstein here when it comes to dissecting film, but I think anybody could watch that football game and say, hey, you might want to play a little closer up here because they're just killing you underneath. And the ball gets into the end zone regardless of how you move it, whether you're bombing it down the field or you're tic-tac-toeing, you're moving the ball either way. Snow's pouring down. I'd rather make it tougher on Burrow and company having to launch the ball down than I would having them tic-tac-toe down the field. I didn't love that. But, once again, where the first half doesn't look very great, in the second half, they allow these Bengals 13 points. And I know, you're looking at that 13 points a half. It equals 26. It's still not ideal. But once again, this is an offense that's going to score on just about anybody. They're elite on the offensive side of the ball. I think they have an underrated running back. They have an elite quarterback. They have the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. They're going to score points. And the Bills' defense is what it is. They were never going to stop them to the point where they scored 20 points in this game and the Bills doubled them up. That wasn't going to happen. But you got to put yourself in a position for your best opportunity for success. That first drive to me was not that. But the second half, once again, they get that stop. Their first drive for Cincinnati, they stop them. And then the two most pivotal drives at the end there where the Bills needed to get the ball back to the offense and then needed another stop to really put the game away. The Bills defense did that. I still can't believe they picked them off on consecutive throws. What's wild is Joe Burrow would have been the reason the Bengals won this football game. But when you look back on it, when it's all said and done, he was ultimately the reason why they lost the football game. That's two bad errors for Joe Burrow. And, if the shoe was on the other foot and Josh Allen did that, if you literally just flipped the game here and it was Josh Allen who made those two plays, he's getting murdered today. He's getting killed on every show you tune into. And let's be transparent, rightfully so. I mean, Joe Burrow's not going to probably get a ton of criticism today because they're done. He was out the entire year. Their season was basically cooked to begin with. What's the point? I mean, they were essentially toast regardless of if they won that football game or not. Yeah, they would have had a chance. Yeah, it would have been entertaining. But no one really cares about Cincinnati right now because their season's been essentially over since Joe Burrow went down. But if Josh Allen if the shoe was on the other foot, and I'm not sitting here trying to be some Josh Allen apologist, I just know how these things go. You know, if it was Mahomes, he would have gotten cooked. If it was Lamar Jackson, he would have gotten cooked. Deservingly. What's wild, though, is up until that point, he was the sole reason as to why they were going to win the football game. He was playing phenomenal. He was carving up that defense. I cannot believe they picked him off twice in a row. And it wasn't like it was just two terrible errors. I would argue it was two better plays by the Bills D than it was two terrible plays by Joe Burrow. Christian Benford was designed, schemed up to come off that left side and pick that ball off. The design is for Christian Benford to come off the left side and get after Burrow and sack him. Luckily for Buffalo, the play being designed on the offensive side of things for Cincinnati was designed to get out quick to that side. He never saw Benford. He never saw him. Burrow's thinking in any situation, in any given situation they're running that play, he's snapping it, dumping it off. He is never anticipating Christian Benford to be there. That's all the credit in the world to McDermott for dialing it up. All the credit in the world to Christian Benford for executing on it. And then the next throw, it's just a perfect play at the line of scrimmage. It's a massive play. Phillips batting the ball up in the air, Epinesa being in the right place at the right time to grab it. I mean, it really isn't like Joe Burrow threw the ball into triple coverage twice in a row and got picked off. That was just two incredible plays. You know, you look at it, and if you were to have bombed the ball down the field for no reason with a lead into double, triple coverage and get picked off, yeah. But, I mean, these were just two phenomenal plays by the Bills defense. So I'm looking at, I see it both ways. I know what the Bills defense was in that game. It wasn't good. I understand that. I also see it as, you know, for as bad as it was, they did make the plays that mattered the most when they needed them the most. And I can't discount that. I still can't get over it. Because, you know, the crazy thing is, even with that pick six, the Bills take their first lead of the game, right? But if they don't get the second one, I don't know how this game finishes. That's what's so crazy, because the way that these teams were scoring, at the rate in which they were scoring, I don't know if that one pick six would have been enough to get it done. Because at that point, when Christian Benford takes it back to the house, it's 32-28 Buffalo. There's 5.5 minutes remaining. Would it have stunned you if the Bengals go the length of the field within 5 minutes and score a touchdown to win that game 35-32? Hell no. It shouldn't stun you, because even after the next pick, the Bengals went down and scored a touchdown in less than a minute's time. After the Epinesa pick, the Bills punch it into the end zone with 3:03 remaining on the clock. T. Higgins catches a 25-yard touchdown from Joe Burrow with 2 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. So the Bills score with 3 minutes left, and before the 2-minute warning, the Bengals are back in the end zone yet again. You can't tell me with any certainty that if they don't get that second pick, that this game's different. Or this game isn't different. Massive. Obviously, the Benford pick is the catalyst. It's the big one. It's the game alterer. It's everything. That second pick will, of course, be underrated because of how incredible the first one was. I think this game's a lot different if they don't get the second one. And I cannot believe he threw two in a row. Not only is it different if they don't get the second one. But it's different if they don't score off the second one. Let's flip over to the offense. What more can you say about Josh Allen's performance in this game? It was an MVP caliber performance. Josh Allen played like the MVP against the Cincinnati Bengals. And they needed him to. They needed the best version of Josh Allen in this game because the Bengals were giving you the best version of Joe Burrow up until those two picks. I had thought going into this game, the Bills were going to be able to win this one through their will on the ground, and they still had a great run game. But a lot of that had to come from Josh Allen's legs. You know, we still had a great performance, I thought, outside of the fumble from James Cook. But in 18 carries, 80 yards for the Bills this year, that's actually not all that great. James Cook has 7 games this season with 100-plus yards on the ground. It's amazing we're at the point where the Bills' run game is so good that an 18-carry, 80-yard game isn't considered all that great. 4.5 yards per carry isn't considered all that amazing. It was Josh Allen and his legs that were really the deciding factor in this one on the offensive side of things. And Josh Allen played a nearly perfect game. Had a couple of moments where he threw a couple of balls that you were like, maybe could have gotten picked off, weren't great, but he didn't turn the ball over, and he was as efficient on the ground as he was through the air, and it was a near-perfect football game, and that's what they needed from him. And when you look at that second pick, they drive down the field, it's 4th down. And the Bills scored 2 touchdowns in this game on 4th down. And if just one of them is not converted, maybe they don't win. So you look at all the little things the Bills had to do right in this game to get it done. They cashed in on nearly all of them. 2 4th down touchdowns. The 2 picks. Remarkable. But the 4th down touchdowns in this game, that's got to have you sick if you're a Cincinnati fan. Because even with the Joe Burrow mistakes, you still had the Bills stopped. And they just give you 2 backbreakers on 4th down. The first one early in the game, this to me was one of the more pivotal parts of the game. And it might be a bit overlooked because it was early in the football game. But it's 14-3. And if the Bills don't score a touchdown on 4th down here, it's still 14-3, ball back to the Bengals. And the way they've been moving the ball, that game could have easily have been 21-3. The play Josh Allen makes on this 4th down is just, it's all world type stuff. That throw to Khalil Shakir might make his Hall of Fame reel. Because it's 4th down and he's without a paddle. He's scrambling around. He's got nothing. He's got to make a play. He's trying to keep the pocket alive for as long as he possibly can. In fact, he keeps it alive up until the last possible second. He literally could not have held that ball for another millisecond before he was going to get nailed. And he throws it over 2 Bengal defenders to where only Khalil Shakir could catch it. I have no idea how he made that throw. It's one of the best touchdowns I've seen all year, and it was just a 4th and 3 conversion. I don't know. There's maybe 3 or 4 guys on the planet who make that play. Hell, he might be the only one who makes that play. I think Mahomes could make it. Maybe that's it. Those 2. And think about how big that was. That made the game 14-11, not just 14-10, because they had the flag. They get the 2-point conversion. So you are eliminating 8 points off the board if that unbelievable play isn't made. And then you go to the second interception. They move the ball down the field. This game isn't over yet. It's 32-28. And the Bills decide they're not going to settle for the field goal. First of all, how about the stones on McDermott here? The stones on McDermott and Brady. And I got to give them credit. Even if they hadn't converted this, I got to give them credit because I thought at the time this is the right move. If you kick the field goal, this game's going to overtime. And we know that to be true. The Bengals would go on to score within the next minute. Less than a minute, the Bengals are in the end zone. And if the Bills had settled for a field goal there, instead of the game being 39-35 or 39-34, it's 35-35. And this game's likely going to overtime. The stones to go for it there were massive. The ability to convert it, massive. You thought you had the touchdown to Dawson Knox. Replay shows he doesn't have control of it. And you're thinking maybe they trot the field goal unit out there. Take the easy points, force Cincinnati to have a score a touchdown. But the self-awareness to know that in all likelihood they were going to score a touchdown, you got to give credit to Sean McDermott and Joe Brady here for going out there. Josh Allen had played incredible up until this point. Give him the chance to ice the game. Give him a chance to put this one away, or at least give you your best chance to put it away. And once again, scrambling around, looking for a guy, extending the play, extends it long enough to find a wide open Jackson Hawes. That didn't end the game, by the way. Effectively, it did, but it still didn't. They still needed a first down on the back half because the Bengals would go on to score, like I keep mentioning, in less than a minute. 3rd and 15. Once again, some brass stones being showed by the coaching staff in this football game. 3rd and 15, they drop back to pass. And if they throw the ball there and it's an incompletion, the Bengals are going to get the ball back with about a minute and a half. They had just scored a touchdown in less than a minute. What makes you think they're not going to be able to go and do it again? 3rd and 15, and Josh Allen runs for a first down. And it wasn't like, he dropped back and he had pressure. He could have went down. He could have taken the sack. And the Bills would have had to have punt from like their own 15? Crappy conditions. I don't know. What do the Bengals get the ball at? The Bills 40? Minute and a half to go and score a touchdown? I think they could probably do it. The legs of Josh Allen to get that first down. I can't believe they had no spy on him. Bengals defense was horrific in this one, and they had no adjustments, and they didn't do anything to put themselves in a better situation on a play like that, or on the play where Josh Allen takes it 40 yards to the house. Speaking of scoring within a minute, by the way, back to Josh Allen's performance. So in the fourth quarter with 8:44 left, the Bengals score a touchdown, wide open Gesicki. That puts them up by 10 again, 28-18. So you're less than 9 minutes left in the entire game. The Bills are down by 10. They're down by 2 scores. The Bills would score a touchdown at the 7:33 mark. So a minute and 11 seconds later, the Bills are in the end zone.
Buffalo Fanatics, what's going on? This is Pierre the Kingpin, and I wanted to talk to you today about Cigars International, which is the ultimate destination for premium homemade cigars. Known as the industry leader, Cigars International offers the largest selection, unbeatable prices, and a customer service experience that's second to none. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned vet, Cigars International makes enjoying cigars easy, approachable, and fun. Cigars International is the go-to retailer for all things cigars, with the biggest selection of premium homemade cigars available anywhere. Cigars International offers unbeatable deals and discounts, making it easy to stock up on your favorite or try something new without breaking the bank. With fast free shipping and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that Cigars International stands behind every order. They have good relationship with vendors that helps provide great low prices. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned pro, Cigars International makes it easy to find the right cigar with helpful guides, staff reviews, and expert advice. It's not just about cigars. Cigars International also offers a wide range of accessories and more to elevate your smoking experience. Check out the great deals every day at cigarsinternational.com. That's cigars, CIGARS, international.com. Use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics and the discount will automatically apply. Again, use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply.
Josh Allen, 40-yard scramble. No spy on him at all, which is remarkable. How easy was that touchdown? No one came close. By the time he passed the line of scrimmage, there wasn't a striped Tiger helmet in view. Gone. You get burnt by that, and then on 3rd and 15, you don't have the wherewithal to put a spy out there for that type of play, just in case he tries to do what he just did to you again. It's credit to the Bills for taking advantage and discredit to the Bengals for doing nothing to put themselves in an advantageous situation there. But how about Josh Allen right there? I mean, how many examples did I just give? 2 fourth-down touchdowns that maybe he's the only guy on the planet able to pull them off. A 40-yard touchdown run. How many guys are running for a 40-yard touchdown at the quarterback position? And then to do it again on 3rd and 15 to get the first down. An unbelievable performance. Josh Allen finishes this one 22 of 28, 251 through the air, 3 touchdowns through the air. Then on the ground, 9 carries, 78 yards and a touchdown, 4 total touchdowns in this football game. And he broke yet another record, by the way, on Sunday. Feels like, every other week here we're getting another Josh Allen record. Last week he broke Cam Newton's record for the most touchdowns on the ground by a quarterback against the Bengals. Josh Allen became the first player in NFL history with 20-plus pass touchdowns and 10-plus rushing touchdowns in 3 or more seasons of their career. I'm seeing Videsh saying snow game legend. I mean, how many games does Josh Allen have in the snow that are just iconic? The 49ers game last year, unbelievable. He has that touchdown where he throws it to Amari Cooper, then he pitches it back to him and he scores the touchdown. He was unreal in that game. A couple Dolphins games come to mind. So many. That was an unbelievable performance. Well, but Bengals defense is terrible. You still got to make the plays, folks. 4th and 3. Who else is making that play to Shakir? The 4th down off the pick. How many guys are extending that pocket to be able to find an open Haws? You need a touchdown instantly, down by 10, with half the 4th quarter already evaporated. 40-yard touchdown, scores within a minute. You need a first down on 3rd and 15 to ice the game. Runs for it. I don't care how bad that defense is. You still got to make the plays. When the Bills played the Dolphins a handful of weeks ago, that was as bad of a defense statistically as there was in the league. They couldn't do anything. Some games you're just not taking advantage of it. You're off and you lose. And if Josh Allen was off in this game, they're losing. Fortunately for us, fortunately for the Bills, he was on. And that was just an incredible performance. Outplayed Joe Burrow in a multitude of different ways, but in the biggest statistical category, no turnovers from Josh Allen. 2 for Joe Burrow. But you look at the mistakes the Bills made in this game, it's remarkable they were able to overcome them. The 4th down before the half didn't convert. Ty Johnson slipping on a guaranteed touchdown, have to settle for 3. That's 4 points off the board. The fumble by James Cook is where I still am blown away at their ability to overcome that. Because on that drive, folks, they had nuked almost the entire game clock of the 3rd quarter. They had evaporated the entire quarter. And they fumbled it away. Came away with no points. And in a game like this, where points were being scored in bunches, it felt like you couldn't afford to miss your opportunity to add more to the board because you knew that Cincinnati was going to. And, of course, they did. Fumble. Bengals get the ball back. They go right down the field. They score. That's when they went up to 10 points. You need prolific plays in big-time moments to get to a Super Bowl. The Bills made several in this Bengals game. And look, I understand Bengals defense bad. Their record bad. I think with the state of the AFC North, if Joe Burrow was healthy throughout the full season, they're probably winning that division. Because without Joe Burrow, they were 2 games behind going into that game. You'd have to think they'd have at least 2 more wins if Joe Burrow was healthy this year. That would have had him tied with Pittsburgh, would have had him tied with Baltimore. Why not? Why wouldn't they get in? That's a playoff team if Joe Burrow's healthy throughout the year, in my opinion, the way things have gone in the North. And every one of these teams has their faults. Everyone throughout the league. It's as open as it's ever been. The Bills are included within that. But if you can make a couple of massive plays on D, if Josh Allen can play like we know he's capable of, he did in that game, if they can still continue to run the ball the way that they have, the best in the league, why not the Buffalo Bills? You can list off a million reasons as to why not the Buffalo Bills. I get that, and I have. But you could also list off a bunch of reasons as to why. And when I look at all of these teams in the AFC playoff picture, I could do the same thing. I could give you reasons as to why I think they could do it. I could give you reasons as to why I think they couldn't. The big difference, however, is as it stands right now, Josh Allen has the most playoff experience, bar none, out of all these quarterbacks in the conference, and it's not close. And every year that they've been bounced in the postseason, they've lost to 2 teams. 3. The first time they went, the Deshaun Watson Houston Texans, who have an argument right now to maybe be the best team in the AFC, if that's what you want to go with. I think you can make that argument. But the majority of their playoff losses have come at the hands of one team. The other loss came to a team that they just essentially eliminated yesterday. I've seen some comments. The Bengals season isn't over. Okay. Okay. I hear you. If I was a Bills fan, I'd probably be saying the same thing if I was in that situation. You're 4-9. I mean, if you make it in, then I will come on here. I will tip the cap. I will bow. I will give you a standing ovation. But it's got nothing to do with how good that football team is. It's going to have everything to do with how bad the Bengals or how bad the Ravens and the Steelers are right now. Let's dive into this playoff picture. It's crazy, folks. I'm sure you all watch Sunday Night Football. And I'm sure you all watch the Kansas City Chiefs get utterly dominated at home by the Houston Texans defense. The Kansas City Chiefs are 6-7. The Houston Texans doubled them up 20-10, the fewest amount of points scored at Arrowhead with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes picked off 3 times, dominated. And the Kansas City Chiefs right now, they're not just in trouble, but folks, I think it's just about put a fork into them season. Let me pull up the exact percentage here. I want to make sure I got the exact percent. There's that button again where I just disappear. The fear is instilled in us to such a degree that even my main man, Bartek, still thinks the Chiefs are making the playoffs. And I don't blame you. I still get it. I get it. I get it. I don't see it. There's been too many games this year where they just are not good enough. They're just not good enough. They have 7 losses at the week 14 mark. They've lost essentially every one-score game they've been in. They have no offense. I think they're cooked. I get the fear. It's like, when you've been burned so many times, I understand. You feel like you put your hand over the flame, you're going to get burned. It's inevitable. But it just feels like that flame has been put out. It feels like the flame is gone. I'll say it right now. I would be stunned beyond belief if the Kansas City Chiefs get into the playoffs. I would be stunned. If they won last night, nobody would be stunned. It's the Chiefs. Of course, they're going to find a way in December to pull off the miraculous. That was a playoff game for Kansas City. at home, and they got really dominated. They didn't score a single point at half. It was the first time they were shut out in years and a half at home. I get it, though, right? Then all of a sudden they make the comeback. It's 10-10. But Andy Reid going forward on fourth down in their own territory, tie game, why? Against the best defense in the NFL, that made no sense to me. And guess what? It's the reason they lost. The Texans went down and scored. The Chiefs never sniffed a scoring opportunity again. Why would you do that? The Texans didn't show you any ability to score really all night long themselves. Why would you give them a short field? Nobody was scoring in that game. Punt it down the field and give yourself the best opportunity to get the ball back. And Miguel's saying it. They feel like a broken team right now. That did not feel like an Andy Reid move at all to me. That was the polar opposite of what an Andy Reid-led team does, in my opinion. They always seem to make the right play. I get it. You have Mahomes. You think you have the ability to do anything at any given time. You're playing the best defense in the league, and they had proved it throughout the game up until that point. They had been rolling. On the other side of things, the Texans offense, we know this. They don't really have much of an offense. All these games that they've been winning is because of how great their defense is. So why would you go up against the best part of that best part of that team in the most pivotal point of the game, as opposed to kicking it back to the offense, stopping them yet again? You've been stopping them all night, getting the ball back, and then having a chance to take the lead. They didn't need to do that. And it was that moment where I really did feel like, yeah, this is done for Kansas City. Because it's not just that they've been losing, and it's not just that they lost that game, but that moment felt so uncharacteristic of the Kansas City Chiefs, where it feels a lot different than it has in the past. I'll even go to this. You know, it's late in the game. Chris Collinsworth refused to call the Chiefs out of this game. He refused. And I don't blame him. Once again, it's like Bartek. Can you blame him? They've shown you how many times they're never done until the clock strikes 0. So they're down 20-10, and there's like 3 minutes left in the football game. And Chris Collinsworth goes, I've seen this too many times from Mahomes. This game is far from over. The ball is snapped. Travis Kelce drops the ball, and it lands into a Texans defender's hand. It's moments like this where it's like poetic, where you're talking about the Chiefs of old, and in real time, you're watching what the Chiefs currently are. And that is a below 500 football team who has played like it the majority of the season. In real time, you're talking about what the Chiefs used to be. And in that very moment, interception. They're done. I don't see them running the table, and I don't see all the other things that they need to happening in order for them to get in. But let's just take a peek. I'll pull up the odds for everybody right now in the AFC. Insane season this has been. I know every year it feels like we say this, but I mean, seriously, every year you were expecting the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs to be duking it out in the postseason. Like, that's not going to happen. And it's just, it's crazy. So here it is. And so if we look at Kansas City, I mean, they have a 13% chance to make the playoffs. 13%. And let's just pull up their remaining schedule. I know they still got to play Denver again. And they got to play the Chargers again. They've lost to both those teams already this season. Now, could they run the table? They could. You know, it would require them having to get swept by the Chargers and swept by Denver. So maybe they could, but they also need other things to happen. They don't control their own destiny. They can't just win out. But I don't know. From what I've seen, I don't know if they're good enough to beat the Chargers and the Broncos. They're good enough to beat the Titans. They'll beat Tennessee. Everybody is, except for the Cleveland Browns. They're good enough to beat the Raiders. Everybody is. That's 2 wins. based on what you've seen, are they going to beat both the Chargers and the Broncos? They could. But based on what I've seen, I'm not putting my money on it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They need other teams to falter in order to get in. They can't just run the table and get in. And even still, I don't know if running the table is going to happen. So you're at a 13% chance here. And you lose one more and it's completely toast. Here's the picture right now. And I'll ask you guys in the chat. Is this the most optimal path the Buffalo Bills have ever had to a Super Bowl? The question isn't, is this the best chance the Bills have had to win a Super Bowl? Is this the most optimal path? Because this isn't the best team the Bills have had in this Super Bowl window. It's not. But in my opinion, this is the best path that they've had. This is the picture. The Broncos, 11-2. Incredible defense. Do you trust that offense to run the table in the postseason? Last year is different than this year. They're a better team than last year. The Bills completely destroyed that Broncos team in the postseason. It's a different team. I get that. But they're not 11-2 good to me. Could they win it all? They could. Their defense is great. They certainly could. But they're not without their faults. The New England Patriots are in the same situation. Second-year quarterback in Drake May. Is he going to run the table in his second year? Their pass rush or their run defense as of late has been bad. Has not been good. They lost a starting lineman, pivotal to their football team on the offensive side of things. The Jags, to me, are like the only team on this whole picture that absolutely nobody's talking about. They must be the most underrated 9-4 team ever. No one's talking about them. They just destroyed the Indianapolis Colts. Speaking of the Colts, who were the 1 seed for some time, or at least threatening to be the 1 seed, and had what felt like a lock on the AFC South, they're now not only like screwed in terms of winning the division, they're screwed in terms of making the playoffs. 8-5 with a sub 40% chance to make it, currently on the outside looking in. And it was announced today, Daniel Jones injured, out for the season. They're now going to have to rely on Riley Leonard, the rookie out of Notre Dame. It's over. Ravens still got a chance. Ravens, Steelers still got a chance. The Ravens look terrible. They look awful. And we know what the Steelers are. The Bills, I mean, they killed them. And they bullied the living hell out of Pittsburgh. I'm not saying it's going to be as easy as it was the last time should the Bills end up facing them. And by the way, as it stands right now, that seems to be one of the more likely outcomes. The Bills end up going to Pittsburgh. That's how it would be right now if the season ended today. And I'm not saying you run for 270 again and run the same 3 halfback dives for 8 yards a clip. Are the Steelers, are they going to flip the switch to such a degree that they end up beating Buffalo? The Chargers, we'll see what happens tonight. They're in some trouble if they lose to Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. They'll drop to 51%. They're currently at 63%. I don't know. The Chargers to me are just they're just the Chargers. I don't know. Do you feel some type of way about LA? That's a team I don't trust. But then again, though, why not LA? Why not? And that's how I feel about all these teams. The team right now, to me, that I feel like is the scariest, it's Houston. And what's crazy, let's take a look at what Houston's done recently. Because what's crazy about Houston is the only reason you're scared of them is their defense, but it should be all the reason as to why you're scared of them. Look at what they've done. They can't score 24 points. But it doesn't matter. Look at this. 16 points scored, win. 23 points scored, win. 20 points scored, win. 20 points scored, win. When's the last time a team's won 4 consecutive games without scoring more than 23 points? I'd love to have that stat handy. And I got a feeling it's been some time. It's the defense. This defense is single-handedly winning football games. And yes, you can beat the Titans in a multitude of different ways. It doesn't matter how you do it. Anybody can beat Tennessee. But you beat Buffalo, you beat Indianapolis, and you beat Kansas City in that stretch, holding all those teams to sub 20 points. That is crazy. This defense is terrifying. They are no joke, and I'm not kidding you. That defense could will that football team to the Super Bowl. We've seen it before. We've seen it with the Baltimore Ravens. We've seen it with the Denver Broncos. It can happen. And in the era where it feels like you have to have an unbelievable quarterback and you have to have an elite offense, it could be the year where a Broncos team gets to the Super Bowl based on their defense, where a Texans team gets to the Super Bowl based on their defense. Because that's really the only thing that scares you about those two teams. But you can't just say it's just the only thing, because it's everything. That's how good of a defense those two teams possess. The Houston defense, though, is on another level. This is wild. They have the best pass rush duo in the NFL. They're holding teams to non-existent points, and their offense just has to score slightly more than the opponent to get it done. They're not even sniffing 30 points, and they're rolling. They're just rolling through. That's the scariest team to me. So currently, here's where they're at. 89% chance to make the playoffs. And I think that they got a legitimate chance to win the South. We'll see what happens there between them and Jacksonville. I will say it is a shame what has happened to Indianapolis. I feel terrible for Daniel Jones. You're a cast-off, land of misfit toys type guy, shipped off in the middle of the season, cut by the team that drafts you in New York. You go to Indy, you win the job over Anthony Richardson, and it looks like you're having a career resurrection. You were. Maybe comeback player of the year, and you tear your leg up, and you miss the rest of the year. You're not even going to have a chance to go to the postseason. This team was, weren't they 7-1 at one point? They're not even going to make the playoffs. Just another feather in the cap that is an unbelievably insane season of the NFL this year. NFL.com currently has the Bills at a 97% chance. I think the New York Times has them at a 95% chance, but the Bills they're looking pretty good. That game yesterday was huge. But if we're talking about the most optimal path, let's talk about the quarterbacks in play here. A second-year Bo Nix, a second-year Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, who has one playoff win in his whole career, and it was the Brandon Staley debacle in LA, where they had that unbelievable lead at half and completely pissed down their leg. He winds up getting fired the following season for the Chargers. Josh Allen. Justin Herbert, who I believe has never won a playoff game. And CJ Stroud. What does he have? One or two? And then Aaron Rodgers as it stands right now. But I don't think we can factor in I understand experience matters, but Aaron Rodgers is 40-something years old, and he looks every bit as old as his age indicates. Yeah, he's got plenty of experience. Yes, he has a Super Bowl victory. Yes, he's been in the postseason several times, several playoff wins. I don't think we can look at it. That's not black and white to me. Like, you can't look at that for what it is. If we're talking strictly quarterback, which this league loves to do, and the betting market loves to do this too. I mean, the majority of these games, in terms of how the public views them and who they bet on and who's favored in games and whatnot, the vast majority of it has to do with the quarterbacks in play. And if you were to just put these two teams on a neutral field, head to head, I'm not kidding you, and you can agree with me or disagree with me. On a neutral field, the Bills would be favored over every single one of these teams. Not saying they beat every single one of them. Not saying that they're better than every single one of them. I'm just telling you the public perception. I'm just telling you how Vegas would line this up. The Bills would be favored on a neutral field over every single one of these teams. Not only that, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills were favored on the road against every single one of these teams. You want to know why I wouldn't be shocked about that? Because the Bills are favored against the New England Patriots this week. Yes. The Bills are a 1.5-point favorite against the Patriots this week on the road. The team that is tied for the 1 seed right now, the team that already beat them at their place earlier in the year. The team that's 11-2. Is that fair? I don't know. I don't make the lines. I'm just telling you what the lines are. I'm telling you what the perception is. I'm telling you how Vegas views them, how the public views them. That wouldn't be the case if Lamar was in or Mahomes was in. This is the path. To me, there's no question about it. This is the most optimal path the Bills have had with Josh Allen at quarterback to go the distance. It is the most optimal path. Unfortunately, this is not the best version of the Buffalo Bills throughout that duration, throughout that time. But I do think they're good enough. As do I think all 7 of these teams are. Maybe not the Steelers. The Steelers, does it feel like that to everybody? They kind of feel like the weak link in this whole thing. They just kind of feel like the team that, they're in because they won their division. Somebody had to win the division. Right? They feel like the weak link. You haven't been able to get past Kansas City. They're not in. Baltimore has given you incredibly tough games in the postseason that have come down to the wire that you've had to make miraculous plays to pull off. They're not in. Cincinnati bullied you at home in the postseason. They're done. And the Texans, you got to go all the way back to Josh Allen's second season with Deshaun Watson. And they still took that game to overtime. It's amazing because this Bills team has been so yin and yang all year. So topsy-turvy, so parabolic. I don't trust them personally in terms of if I'm just looking at them and them alone and not the outside factors. I don't trust them personally in terms of me stating that's the Super Bowl favorite. If I'm just talking about the Bills themselves as a team, they've been too untrustworthy all season for me to make that statement. But when I stack them up against this picture, and when I factor in that every one of these teams, at least to me, gives me trust issues, whether it be the quarterback, their offense, their defense, something in between, their coach, whatever. This is the most optimal path the Buffalo Bills have had to go to the Super Bowl. This puts a lot more pressure, by the way, on Sean McDermott. What's the excuse going to be if you can't reach the Super Bowl if the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals are not in it? Most notably, the Kansas City Chiefs. That's been the kryptonite. You've lost to them 4 times. They've stood in your way of a Super Bowl appearance 4 times, twice in particular in the AFC Championship. That has been everything. And they're not going to be there. The pressure is on, maybe more than ever. The pressure's always there to beat the Chiefs, but they're not there. What do you think about that, Caroline and Zoe? All right. We're making gnocchi tonight. Cauliflower gnocchi. Want to say hi, Zoe? Zoe's got on her, look at, she's got on her Christmas onesie. Caroline's got on her hippie psychedelic sweatshirt. Hey, baby girl. How about with all we've had to endure from the Kansas City Chiefs end of things, Zoe Bourne might not watch Mahomes in the playoffs. How insane is that?
That'd be great.
How crazy is that?
Zoe.
Do you think the Chiefs are cooked? Do you think they're going to make it? They're making it? Bartek, you're not alone. Caroline still thinks they're making it.
Always make it.
They always make it.
Holmes knows how to do it.
She's still hungry, huh? This girl is awake for one thing and one thing only, and that is to eat. She's just like her old man. Oh, man. All right, so we got to go make some gnocchi. But anyway, that's what it is right now. And we'll continue to talk about this, of course, throughout the upcoming weeks here, because this is, I mean, what you just saw there is essentially what this picture is going to be. You're just going to have some seating tweaks, and you might have one or two teams flop out, whether that be the Ravens swapped in for the Steelers, whatever. But this is what it's going to be. So we're going to continue to talk about this. This upcoming game, though, against the Patriots, to me, it's going to prove a lot. You can't lose to this team twice in one season. You just can't. It would be such a blemish for McDermott, in my opinion, to lose to a second-year quarterback with a team that has a first year with their first year with this coach. I know Vrabel's an excellent coach, one of the league's best, and it's not his first year as a coach. I get all that. But you've been with the Bills for 9 years, and you haven't been able to get a 1 seed. And it looks like in all likelihood the Patriots are going to do that in Vrabel's first year. That seems to be inevitable. But what would make that 10 times worse is if you lost to that team twice. You can't do it. We'll talk about that more later on this upcoming week. A couple of super chats before we close up shop. Signified coming in. Keep looking at the playoff picture, and I'm filled with the poisonous feeling. That is hope, because I keep asking, what if this is the year? Getting my hopes up is usually dangerous, but if not, now when? And Signified, you're nailing what we just talked about. Why not? If not, now when? This is what I was just saying. The pressure's dialed up to 11 on McDermott. You might think the pressure's always on McDermott to beat the Chiefs, but when the Bills lose to the Chiefs, everybody always just says, oh, of course they did. They can't beat them. They never can. Just same old status quo. The Chiefs aren't in. So in my opinion, the pressure's even higher. You've never beaten the Chiefs in the postseason. So everyone's expecting you to just continue to lose to them. Yeah, the pressure's there, but if you don't win, everybody's just going to say, well, of course you didn't win. You never beaten them before. You can't beat them. It's impossible. It's not happening. They're not in. The pressure's seismic. Are they going to be able to overcome it? Because as you're saying, Signified, and I keep saying, what if this is the year? The thing is, the 6 other teams in that playoff picture are saying the same thing, and they have every right to say it. Because they're all thinking the same thing we're thinking. If the Chiefs aren't in it, somebody else has to do it. You look at the last decade of the AFC here in Super Bowl appearances. You got a Tom Brady-led Patriots team. That's gone. You got the Chiefs. They're not in. You got the Bengals. They're not in. It's going to be some new blood. Everyone's thinking the same thing. But the Bills rightfully should be thinking it as well, of course, as we all are. BT, Bartek. Those 4th down attempts felt like it was to prove to themselves that they can do it, rather than what the right move was. Well, regardless of the mindset, it's what had to happen. I understand, Bartek. I feel like you might be at a point right now where you're not willing to give a whole lot of credit to this coaching staff because of, ghosts of the past. I got to give credit here. They knew what that game was. I don't think you're going for all those 4th downs. You're not going for 4 4th down conversions if you're playing Tennessee. They knew what that game was. They knew that field goals were going to put them in an early grave. They knew that field goals to touchdowns in this game were going to be the difference. I think they read the game perfectly and made the right call. That's where I see it. I see what you're saying, but you look at what the game was, those were the right moves, whether they converted them or not. You had to keep pace with the opposing offense. You know they were the right moves because of how quickly the Bengals were scoring, how many points they were putting on the board. I have to give credit to McDermott here. Mitch, Money Mitch, the lead Robster, closing out our super chat saying, notice how Allen is performing well and Lamar and Mahomes aren't. If this isn't his time, I don't know when is. And that's the other thing we just talked about, and it's a huge catalyst here. It is the quarterback competition. Either one of these teams is going to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl based on the back of their incredible defense. If not, then you immediately look to the quarterback. The Bills have the advantage over every single team in the postseason right now at quarterback. You could not say that in years past, as good as Allen was, because he's right on par with Lamar. He's right on par with Burrow. He's right on par with then Mahomes. I'm not taking Allen over Burrow and Lamar 7 days a week, 8 days a week. But we all know the kryptonite's been Mahomes. All of those factors are gone, including the biggest catalyst. So yes. If you can't get it done without Mahomes in the postseason, like we keep saying, then when are you going to get it done? I'm excited, man. Excited. And I'm excited about what's going down this evening. Big Monday Night Football game between the LA Chargers. As I noted earlier, they'll drop to a 51% chance to make it if they lose. The Eagles are looking to bounce back. The Eagles have not looked good the last several weeks. They need to show out in primetime. You can show out and get in on the action over on Sleeper. Link in the description below. Click that, sign up for an account. Once you do, you will immediately get a free $20 entry. You can use that free $20 on the game tonight, Monday Night Football between the Chargers and the Eagles. You can save that $20 entry for Thursday Night Football coming up or any of the games in Week 15. You can also use it on NHL, NBA, you name it. It's all in one place over on Sleeper. Once you use your free $20 entry, use the promo code on your screen, BF25. That will get you a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Currently available in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper via the link in the description below. Zoe's crying, which means it's time for gnocchi, and that means my time on the smoke break is up. Rico coming your way tomorrow on the Rico Report Tuesday evening. We'll be with you later in the week for our Rico and Bot. I think we'll also have Thigh Doc on Wednesday with Rico to give you an update on the injury situation for Buffalo. And then all week long, we'll be getting you ready for that big rematch between the Bills and the Patriots in Foxborough on Sunday. Cannot wait. Can't thank you enough for tuning in here on a Monday. Well over 1,200 of you in the building throughout the duration. And I appreciate each and every single one of you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday night. We'll talk later in the week. Until then, much love. And as always, go Bills.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.